Today, our Jenny Runovich talked to the people that are close to the man who police tonight are also calling a hero.
Police, come talk to us. Police, how many people are there?
As police rushed shoppers to safety Sunday, Shay Goldman's grandmother was getting frightening calls and texts.
She says, "Grandma, I'm okay." She said, "But I'm terrified." And then she says, "Grandma, what is the world coming to?" And she said, "I don't think I'll never step a foot in a mall again."
Her granddaughter was in the food court, traumatized but safe, thanks to Shay's boyfriend, Eli Dicken. The 22-year-old from Seymour took down the mall shooter. Eli's the man police call a hero.
Well, I just know that I'm so proud of him for what he's done. He saved my granddaughter. I know he did. She said on the phone when she called me, she's, "Grandma, I'm okay," that Eli pushed me out of the way and told me to get down and to stay down. And everybody should be proud of him. You know what I'm saying, for what he's done. Because if not, there would have been a lot more.
Shay told her grandma she spotted the gunman coming out of the bathroom.
And she said, "Grandma, I seen a long gun." And then all of a sudden, Eli told her get down and pushed her. And she said it went from there.
Investigators say Eli, within seconds, stopped the suspect, pulled out the pistol he was carrying under the constitutional carry law, steadied himself against a pole, and fired 10 rounds from 40 yards away. The suspect tried to go back in the bathroom, but instead fell to the ground.
His actions were nothing short of heroic. He engaged the gunman from quite a distance with a handgun, was very proficient in that, very tactically sound, and as he moved to close in on the suspect, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him.
If he didn't stop, do you think of how many people in that food court?
19-year-old Shay, who's in nursing school, took action too, helping a woman shot in the leg.
She said she took her coat off and put a tourniquet around it and waited.
Both young people courageous in chaos, police say, amid deadly trauma at the mall.
I'm glad they're both okay, and I'm glad he did what he did, but we need prayers for him. He needs prayers, because that's all. To take somebody's life is hard.
He is, or he is not, a common American, a hero deep down inside, waiting to emerge. Well, this story barely made a blip on the mainstream news, especially this interview that I'm about to play, but I think it's because there's a concerted effort to keep you from feeling like you can protect yourself and you have a hero inside you as well. You do. So this story is very inspiring, and I hope it inspires you to think about the fact that you too could be a protector. You too could train and understand the pew-pew, and don't be afraid.
Thank you so much for joining me today. We've been waiting for this day for the Greenwood Police to release the findings of the reports after 5 months. What stood out to you at that presser today? We were looking for motive. Didn't really seem like we got one. It seemed like just a bunch of little tidbits to me. What did you see?
Well, I mean, I think that's because that's all there is. I think this was a secretive person. It didn't necessarily broadcast out there publicly or otherwise what he intended to do. And so I think the Greenwood Police have really done a fabulous job in their investigation. I think they've been absolutely professional from day one. The one thing that stood out to me is that perhaps, and this takes a little bit of speculation, but with the life circumstances of this person spiraling so much downward and in a negative direction, combined with his fascination for active shootings or mass shootings, I think that it's starting to look a little bit like this was what he probably intended as a suicide by cop. In other words, he was going to join the ranks of the mass shooters that he was clearly infatuated with and in fact had studied. And then because of everything in his life being in such a horrible state, that he probably didn't expect to survive and didn't want to survive. That's what I took from some of the comments from the chief and some of the evidence they uncovered.
So such a positive public reaction for Elijah after the shooting, and reinforced by the mayor today, or the police chief today. The police chief saying there is evil in this world. You only hope that someone like Elijah Dicken is there. And by all accounts, from his perspective, Eli's a hero. Eli hasn't spoken out. We haven't heard from him. You've been in close contact with him. How's he doing?
He's doing all right. At the same time, you know, I've represented a number of people, Eli included, who have been through something similar where they acted heroically, they acted justifiably and legally. At the same time, they took a human life, and that's a lot to process. You know, for any person like Eli who has, you know, values and values life, that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to process, and I don't want to violate his privacy, but I'll tell you that anyone who goes through what he did, they're appreciative of the thanks, they're appreciative of the accolades, and they understand, as Eli does, that he saved lives that day, saved a lot of lives. And a lot of people have reached out to say, you know, my kids were in the mall that day, or my grandkids were in the mall that day, or I was in the mall that day. And by the way, my little sister was in the mall that day, and at the time of the shooting. And Eli hears from those people, and he appreciates the kind words and the accolades. At the same time, there's a little inconsistency there because it wasn't a positive event for him. It was a life-changing event, and saving lives notwithstanding, that's a lot to process for anyone who values human life as Eli does.
So what has he been doing since July 17th?
He's really been trying to get back to normal. I mean, he's a hard-working guy. He works as an auto mechanic, and he's got a really good job that he really enjoys. He's got a girlfriend that he loves, and his number one motive really right now is to get his life back to the way it was before, to, as he says, get back to normal. And I think that's one of the reasons that he's chosen not to speak publicly. He has, you know, no desire to be in the limelight. He's really trying to get his life back to normal. And at the same time, he understands that there's a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of people that really want to know the details of what happened that day. And there are a lot of people that want to discuss the broader ramifications of someone doing what he did, which is, you know, lawfully carrying a gun where he could lawfully carry a gun and using that firearm to save lives. And he understands that's an important message that a lot of people want to talk about as well.
Did he share with you that it just was an impulse, his response?
Well, I don't know that I would describe it as an impulse. I think it took him a moment to process what he was hearing. And even in the training that I do, we talk about the ability to observe what's happening and then orient to what's happening, understand what you're seeing and hearing. And having seen the video, he did all that very quickly. I mean, there were shots fired, and unfortunately 3 innocent people lost their lives, but very, very quickly, within 15 seconds, according to the chief, Eli understood what was going on, was able to get himself into a position where he could return fire at this shooter, and the marksmanship and the cool head under pressure is something that still takes my breath away. I mean, I've been a competitive shooter. I've been a lifelong student of firearms and marksmanship, and I'm amazed at what he was able to accomplish. People use the phrase "cool under fire." Well, he was cool, literally cool under fire, and the marksmanship was just amazing, and undoubtedly saved lives in the process.
Is today the first day you saw that video?
Yes.
So tell me what you saw.
Well, what I saw was a person who, again, was able to process so quickly what was happening and respond to it so quickly. I mean, I think for a member of a SWAT team to have responded as he did, as quickly as he did, would have been impressive. I think a member of SEAL Team 6, responding as he did would have been impressive. For a person with literally no formal training at all to have reacted the way he did, it really defies experience and logic, and as far as I'm concerned, because I don't have an explanation for it. I know an awful lot of people, me included, spend a lot of time training, that I wouldn't expect to react as he did. And
when you saw the video today, did he brace himself against something? How did he, what was he doing? Was he sitting down? Did he stand up? I mean, where was the shooter in relation to him?
Well, I'll tell you exactly. He and his girlfriend had just sat down to eat. They had gone to the Asian restaurant there. They got basically the last meal available because they were closing down. The mall was closing in just a few minutes. They had just sat down to eat, and that's when the shooter came out of the bathroom 40 yards away. He had shot one gentleman who was just walking into the bathroom. He came out. There were 2 people sitting at a table just outside the entrance to the bathroom, shot them, then shot just a couple of shots sort of randomly across the mall. They didn't really appear to be aimed shots. In the context of just those few shots, Eli heard and saw what was going on. They were sitting at a table, I think luckily it was next to a column that supported the roof. And there was also a very tall mall trash can sitting next to that column. Eli stood up, drew his gun, which he was carrying concealed in a holster, at about 4 o'clock, as we say. He stood up, he leaned out from behind the column so he had cover, which meaning, you know, he was protected from gunfire, and braced his forearms essentially on the top of that tall mall trash can. He fired 2 shots, paused, and this is again a miraculous part of the story to me, and he had described this to me, but I saw it on video today. He had to pause because screaming people were running across his sight picture. He had to stop shooting, allow people to clear from in front of his gun, fired 2 more shots, and of those first 4 shots hit the assailant, 2 out of those 4.
So did the assailant fire just 3 shots and then Eli heard, or were there more shots?
Oh, there was more, because the first gentleman who was walking into the bathroom died of multiple gunshots. The 2 people, the couple that were sitting at the table, according to police chief, both died of multiple gunshots. So I can't tell you the total number of shots. The chief has said that the total number of shots fired was in the 20s total, including the somewhat random shots across the mall. But again, with a semi-automatic, you're not talking about very much time. And the chief has said that Eli engaged the threat in 15 seconds from the time that the shooter emerged from the bathroom. Total was 15 seconds.
Okay, so then what happened? After Eli, he fired off 10 rounds, 8 of them hit the assailant. Then what did Eli do? What happened then?
Those shots came in a sequence. What happened, and again, Eli had described this to me, but I got to see it visually today. The first 4 shots were braced on the trash can from 40 some yards away. The bad guy was trying to get back into the bathroom he had just come out of, the hallway leading back to the bathroom. So he was trying to get away, especially after he was hit. Eli then needed to come out around from the column to still have a sight line on the perpetrator. He did that, closed the distance to some degree, was then probably 20 yards away, shot 4 more shots. According to the coroner, hit all 4 of those shots. Person then, and you start losing sight of him from that angle of the video, but he's heading back into the bathroom, and reportedly he still had the rifle, was stumbling, going down. Eli closed to a closer distance, maybe 20 feet or so, 25, fired the last 2 shots and ended the threat at that point.
What happened after Eli closed in and hit those last 4 shots on the assailant?
Well, he stood there momentarily to make sure the threat was over. And by then you see a mall security guard run up. Apparently, I believe in Greenwood, an unarmed security guard. He came up, you see some visually you can see some verbal interaction between security guard and Eli. Eli reholsters, and about then you see the first Greenwood police officer show up. So the Greenwood police response time was incredibly fast, but the first officer shows up. There's a brief interaction between he and Eli there. That's a very, as I teach in my classes, that's a very, very tense time, because police are responding. They've heard shooting or mass shooting. Their adrenaline's up. They show up. Now here's a gentleman standing there with a gun. That can be very, very, very dangerous, even for someone acting heroically as Eli did. But this police officer clearly had his head about him too. Understood quickly what was going on, and talked briefly to Eli, went in, also checked to make sure the threat was over, and that was about the end of the video that I saw.
Did he make any comment to you about moving forward, about whether he would be carrying a gun moving forward, or if he didn't want any access to guns anymore? Has he made any feeling about that?
No, he saw the value of it that day, and I think he would be the last person who would not want to have the ability to defend himself and others in public. And no, he acquired another gun quickly after this happened, a similar gun. No, I think Eli, like a lot of us, is going to make that decision to carry a gun where he can lawfully carry a gun.
After the press conference today, what happened? What happened in your interactions with the police, and what did you collect?
Well, I can't praise Greenwood Police enough. These people were really pros. their whole handling of the investigation. I think they've been very communicative when they can be. They waited, here we're 5 months out, right? But that was because they wanted to finish their investigation as much as they possibly could, and they wanted to be thorough, and they wanted to be professional, and that's exactly what they did. So high praise from me, and I'm a defense attorney, so a lot of times police are, they're sort of my enemy in the wild, and these folks did an absolutely top-notch job, Chief Eisen in particular. But no, today they wanted to talk to me about returning Eli's property to him because they still had the gun and a pocket knife in his holster in evidence, understandably. They wanted to make sure we got that back to Eli. So Eli actually communicated with them in writing while I was still in Greenwood that yes, you can release all that to my attorney. So I was able to have his gun released to me, and I can get that back promptly to him. And they also, again, they wanted to make sure that I had the information that I could convey to Eli, some things they knew or their impressions that he maybe didn't necessarily know already. And so they actually demonstrated to me they really care about how Eli's doing and wanted to have him a complete picture of how many lives he saved and how impressed they were with his actions. So no, it was really a meaningful interaction between me and Greenwood Police after the press conference today. They really are pros down there, and they're good people.
What steps has Eli taken since the shooting to get back to the normal that he craves?
Yeah, I don't want to violate his privacy and get into too much detail. I can tell you there are a lot of resources out there. A lot of people have reached out. A lot of people have gone through exactly the same circumstance. I had people call me. The gentleman Jack Wilson, who was the hero in White Settlement, Texas, who saved I don't know how many lives in a church shooting where somebody walked in and started shooting, and Mr. Wilson was a volunteer security guard in the church and who used deadly force, saved lives. Stephen Williford, who engaged an active shooter in Sutherland Springs, Texas, he reached out, and all these folks are saying, hey, I want to talk to Eli. I've had police pastors who counsel officers who have had to use deadly force. And I've conveyed all that to Eli. Exactly what he's done, and that I think is that's his privacy is implicated there. So I don't know that I want to go into too many detail, but he has a lot of good people around him. He's got a great family, very supportive family structure, and everybody's trying to make sure that he gets the help he needs because, again, people see hero and they think it's all, congratulations and people buying you beers in public, and for anybody who values life, it's a much more significant event than that. And that's why everybody around Eli is trying to make sure that he gets the support that he needs.
You are one of the few that's been able to actually look at the video and see what went down there. Your biggest impression after looking at that today?
What hit me, and it hit me somewhat emotionally, was to see real people and real faces, and to know that those were the people whose lives Eli saved. That kind of brought it full circle for me. It was a big deal.
Whoa, that was an amazing story. And again, it's so rare. It is very rare, but being prepared is an everyday thing. I would just like to, I guess, give a little bit of advice if you're new to firearms. And what Eli had to do, I couldn't even imagine it. But in the time that you do that, you need to be able to do that in an instant, yank and bang. And so I would suggest that if you're new to firearms, or even if you're not new to firearms, you're going, yeah, that's right. It's a light carry revolver. Yes, they're very light. You can't, where you carry it, you can't accidentally discharge it in your, wang, if you know what I'm saying, or whatever you got down there. But the point is light carry revolver, easy to have in your appendix all the time, yank and bang, and just get used to it as you would wearing a seatbelt. And obviously this is if you live in a state that's legal and blah, 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 and yeah, I'm not trying to, FBI kiss my butt. You know what I'm saying? If you're legally allowed to do what I just said, do it. Do it.